I never thought you were such a heartless woman. You think this is okay? I'll divorce you. It seems like he thinks divorce is his trump card. I, too, don't want a husband who cares only about his parents and not his wife. Fine, let's get divorced. Then get out of this house, since it's mine. What? John started to panic because of my unexpected move. But I will never sacrifice myself again for these people. I am Emily, 30 years old. I have been married to my husband, John, for a year and a half. Since we got married, we went on family vacations 3 times with John's parents, a total of 4 people. There was also a trip with 6 people, including John's sister Erin and her child. Vacations are fine, but the problem is the payment. Hey, I paid for everyone's travel expenses when we booked. How are you, your father, and your mother going to pay me back? I'll pay it back eventually. Just cover it for now. John left me to handle all the arrangements and payments for the trip. And he still hasn't paid me back. Neither has his parents. In addition to the unpaid expenses. I haven't been able to enjoy sightseeing on any of the trips we've been on. This is also a major problem. Unpack first, and then go and buy the things on this memo. We'll be starting sightseeing first. Yes. Yes, my mother-in-law always leaves all the troublesome tasks to me during our trips. Of course, neither my father-in-law nor John offered any support. Even so, I wanted to do some sightseeing. I hurried to finish the tasks my mother-in-law had dumped on me. And was about to go sightseeing when. I'm already tired, let's go back to the hotel. During the trip, I was used like a servant by John and his parents. So going sightseeing alone was never an option. When we went on a trip with Erin and her child, I was used like a servant plus a babysitter. I hate this. Erin's child is extremely picky and incredibly spoiled. Disliking something on the plate, the child threw it at me, who was sitting next to them. As a result, both my clothes and luggage were ruined. Seeing this disaster, Erin said, "What are you doing? Take care of her properly." Incredibly, she blamed me for her child's bad manners, completely ignoring her own child's behavior. In the end, I couldn't even eat and spent the trip taking care of Erin's child. 4 trips in just a year and a half. Being used like a servant on all of them and paying for everything. Why should I pay and to get tired? With that resolve, I decided not to go on any trips that might come up in the future. Emily, let's go on a trip this coming holiday. As the long holiday approached, John, as expected, suggested a trip. But this time, I was fully prepared. I had work scheduled for almost the entire holiday. I have work, so I'll pass. You guys go without me. Oh, really? Okay, I understand. John grudgingly agreed and left for the trip on the first day of the long weekend. As I had expected, the trip was a disaster. The first thing John did when he returned home was to complain about Erin. With me not there, there was no one to pay the expenses, no one to take care of the child. Erin, being the mother, had to do it, but she apparently couldn't stand it. Why don't you act as a babysitter? Me? Why should I? It's not even my child. Have you been thinking this all along during our trips? I never want to be treated as a babysitter again. John seemed offended by my words and sulkily went to the bedroom. When John had fallen asleep early, I got a call from my mother-in-law. This trip was so hard with Erin complaining all the time. You must come next time, Emily. No, I don't want to. What? Why not? My mother-in-law seemed genuinely unaware of why I was refusing. Maybe it was time to make it clear. Who would want to do whatever Erin doesn't want to do? If it means being burdened with unpleasant tasks, I won't go. But, trips are fun, right? Let's go together next time. I'm not going. After repeating this exchange a few times, my mother-in-law finally seemed to give up and the call ended. I was relieved to have escaped the painful trips. But I had no idea that things were about to take a drastic turn the next day. "Hey, what did you say to Mom?" John stormed into the room, yelling, after returning from work. He probably heard about yesterday's phone conversation from his mother. It's our duty to take our elderly parents on trips and make them happy. Why did you say you won't go? Why do I have to be treated like a servant by you people? Even on my days off, it's more exhausting than work. Just bear with it. Mom and Dad are having fun. Do you want to get divorced? He's just having fun with his parents, and I can't stand how he's forcing me to suffer. Angered, we ended up having a shouting match. After some time passed and things calmed down, John sighed. "I never thought you were such a heartless woman. Is this really okay? You think this is okay? I'll divorce you." It seems like he thinks divorce is his trump card. I too don't want a husband who cares only about his parents and not his wife. Fine, let's get divorced. Then get out of this house, since it's mine. What? John seemed panicked, maybe thinking I'd apologize at the mention of divorce. I packed his valuables in a bag, handed it to him, and pushed him out to the entrance. All the while, he kept yelling, "We're getting divorced. You'll regret this." But he was so noisy that I just kicked him out. And the next day, I received a call from my mother-in-law who had heard about what happened. "You have no sense of being a wife. How can you have the nerve to kick out the head of the family?" I'm not going to be his wife much longer. I'll file for divorce soon. Thanks to feeling more at ease, dealing with my mother-in-law was a breeze. But if we're getting divorced, you need to pay damages. You need to pay the entire cost of the last trip. The problem is these two greedy ones that only talk about money. I didn't cheat or anything, and John is the one who wanted a divorce. So I think he should be the one to pay. Aaron sent me a bill for $4,600 for the trip. But the amount seems off. The amount is too much. The total travel expenses I've paid so far were $2,800. There's no way a single trip could cost $4,600. Angered by their attempt to squeeze more money out of me, I withdrew all the money I had spent on trips from the joint bank account with John. The balance must have been close to zero. A month after kicking John out, I received daily emails asking, "Are you sure about the divorce? You didn't really mean divorce, right?" Replying became a hassle, so I said, "We're getting divorced. You're paying the alimony," as a template and sent it each time. While it's comfortable being alone, the constant messages from my mother-in-law, John, and Aaron were annoying. To resolve this situation, I spent half a month finding a lawyer I was comfortable with. Little did I know that hiring a lawyer would make me realize John's abnormality. 3 months after hiring the lawyer, the divorce was finally settled. Due to John's nonsensical words, it took this long to progress. "If we're getting divorced, you're paying the damages. Since you want the divorce, you should be the one to pay the damages. Then I won't divorce. But tell my wife she will have to accept all of my parents' demands. Your wife has rejected that. Then I'll divorce, so she should pay the alimony." It seems the lawyer was also frustrated by how hard it was to communicate with him. Amidst this unprogressive situation, an incident occurred that made me question John's character. "Hey, this broke, so replace it with a new one." "Wait, this is my tablet." During a meeting about the divorce at a cafe, John handed me a tablet, saying this as we were leaving. It was the tablet I had been looking for all this time. I had been searching for it since it was lost, even asking John. When I asked him, he said he didn't know, but it turns out he was the one who had stolen it. Why do you have my tablet? And what do you mean it's broken? Hey? I was the one using it, so it's mine, right? But it's broken now and I need it, so bring me a new one. This must be what they mean by speechless. Seeing this, the lawyer interjected on my behalf. Do you realize what you are saying? Are you aware of what you've done? John genuinely seemed not to understand what was wrong. Even as the lawyer confronted him, he looked as if he wanted to say, "What did I do? Wow, stealing someone's stuff and then asking for a new one, that's just wrong." At that moment, a waiter nearby muttered under his breath, "Hey." Perhaps it finally dawned on him, thanks to a stranger's comment. He seemed to realize that what he had done was a serious crime, theft. He left the cafe as if fleeing and contacted the lawyer that night to agree to the divorce. I've always been told at home that Emily was the bad one. And I convinced myself it was okay to use anything that belonged to Emily. He apparently confessed this to the lawyer during the call. While it's crazy that his parents always blamed me, I think it's also wrong to be so brainwashed. Anyway, the divorce was finalized. It was a brief but intense 3 months, and I finally gained my freedom. A month after the divorce, my ex-husband's family apparently planned another trip. It was supposed to be the 5 of them, my ex-husband, his parents, Erin, and her child. On the day of the trip, they all excitedly headed to the station, only to discover that no one had booked the trip. They started blaming each other on the spot, but since no booking was made, they couldn't go on the trip and decided to go to a restaurant instead. After finishing the meal, they all got up from their seats. And anyone would think they were headed to pay, but they all just walked out. A panicked waiter confronted them, but no one offered to pay. And they ended up being caught as dine and dashers. It's no surprise the whole in-law family did nothing. After all, I had always taken care of everything before. Whether they couldn't go on the trip or got caught for dine and dash. Honestly, it didn't matter to me. The reason I know so much about it is... Hey, are you listening? I'm not. Why not? You used to listen to all sorts of things before. That's right, John would call almost every day, whining about trivial matters. It was better when you were around. Without you, our family can't function as a family. Really, why did we ever get divorced? After ranting about his family, he would always express his regret over the divorce. Annoyed, I would hang up without listening. As he kept calling persistently, I contacted my lawyer, who apparently gave John some guidance. I thought this would finally sever our ties. I was too optimistic. 4 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from the lawyer saying John had gotten engaged. Probably his mother was desperately searching for his next wife. To secure a servant like me. I see, I responded to the lawyer and tried to forget about my ex-husband and his family again. 2 months later, I received a message from John at my work email. My fiancé broke off our engagement. She said you know the reason why. What does that mean? Are you and my fiancé acquaintances, and you've been deceiving me? I couldn't grasp the content right away. I don't know his fiancé, and if we were acquaintances, I would have heard something. What do you mean? Explain in detail. When she broke off the engagement, she said she understood why my previous wife divorced me. And she also said to reflect on the reasons for the previous divorce. That's when it all started to make sense. Faced with John's unchanging family, his fiancé must have understood why he ended up divorced. Despite being advised to reflect on the reasons for our divorce, for some reason, he assumed I knew the cause of his broken engagement. Hey, why was my engagement called off? What was the reason? It's because of you and your parents treat your wife like a servant, you idiot. I would have preferred to say it over the phone, but an email was fine too. After sending a sharp reply, I blocked John's email address. Then, I asked my lawyer to file for a restraining order and demand damage payments. 3 months have passed. There's been no contact from my ex-husband or his parents. I received the damage payment. If he breaks the restraining order, he'll be arrested. Having been caught for dine and dash before, he'd probably want to not get caught again. This is how I regained a peaceful life. No longer being unjustly used by anyone, my days are comfortable. I'm wary of marriage now, but I hope to meet someone kind and protective. Someone who would cherish me and shield me from intrusive in-laws.